In today's episode of Travel Insurance 101, we're going to talk about what type of coverage is right for seniors and what are the most common mistakes that we see travelers over the age of 65 make when buying travel insurance for their next trip. Welcome back to our channel. My goal is to help you travel the globe without a worry in the world. It's peak season for travel. People are eager to travel again and taking trips after 2 years of limited travel and being stuck at home. And one demographic that we always want to ensure has the proper protection in place is travelers that are over the age of 65. There are a few unique considerations that you should be thinking about if you fall into this category. Now, the good news is many of the top travel insurance plans on the market offer great coverage for senior travelers. However, there are some travel insurance policies out there that may not provide adequate protection or coverage for travelers that are 65 or older. So today, we will discuss the most common mistakes that we see senior travelers make when purchasing travel insurance. The first mistake that we see far too often is not purchasing travel medical insurance. That includes emergency medical evacuation and/or medical air ambulance coverage. Now, medical evacuation coverage is very important for all travelers, but even more important for senior travelers. The reason for this is as we get older, we are more likely to experience a health issue while traveling. It can range from something as simple as getting COVID while traveling abroad to something more serious like having a heart attack or stroke while visiting another country.
Ow.
If something were to happen, whether you're 25 years old or 75 years old, you still need to get back to your home country for care. You don't want to rely on the local medical system in the country you're visiting to transport you back home. Senior travelers are much more likely to require medical assistance and have a higher cost of medical care than younger travelers. Medical evacuations can easily cost tens of thousands of dollars. And with medical air ambulance, the cost can be even higher. So you definitely need coverage that can help pay for these types of expenses. Fortunately, there are travel insurance policies out there that cover medical evacuation and medical air ambulance up to $10 million, and the cost is relatively inexpensive. Another common mistake that we see is not purchasing enough of a daily maximum for the medical expense portion of the policy. For example, if you have a high deductible health insurance plan back home, you might be used to paying a few $1,000s out of pocket if you break your leg, go to the emergency room, or maybe you need a hospital stay. So you might think that a few $1,000 deductible is pretty high, but for travel insurance purposes, it's actually quite low. We recommend that travelers purchase a policy with at least $50,000 of medical expense coverage with a daily maximum of $100, $500 per day. This allows you to be treated by local doctors and hospitals without having to worry about how much your visit will cost. If you have no other health insurance or your major medical plan back home doesn't provide a lot of coverage, you might consider increasing this coverage amount even higher. Another huge mistake that we see travelers over the age of 65 make is not purchasing cancellation or interruption insurance. If you're not familiar, these coverages help pay for your non-refundable trip costs if you have to cancel or cut your trip short for a covered reason. A covered reason would include things like getting sick with a travel-related illness, having a heart attack, or a family emergency back home. These coverages can be extremely valuable if you are planning a big trip, or if you are paying for an expensive trip. Think about the money you would lose if you had to cancel your trip last minute. Then think about the money you would lose if you had to cut your trip short. Even if you have a great travel insurance policy with comprehensive coverage, if you don't purchase cancellation and interruption insurance, then none of your non-refundable trip costs will be covered if you have to cancel or interrupt your trip. Now, fortunately, most reputable travel insurance policies include these coverages as part of their base plans. Another mistake we see is not purchasing enough coverage for baggage delay. Now, sometimes travel insurance policies will only provide $100 in baggage delay coverage, but realistically, if your luggage is delayed for a week and you need to buy all new clothes, toiletries, etc., you could end up spending thousands of dollars. We recommend that travelers over the age of 65 purchase a policy that provides at least $1,000 for baggage delay, because you are statistically much more likely to have your bags delayed or even lost in transit. Also, as you get older, you tend to have more medical equipment or mobility devices that you depend on. Oftentimes, those items are in your checked luggage. If your checked luggage is delayed or lost, you could be waiting a long time before you get those items back, and you could incur a hefty cost while you're waiting. Another huge mistake that we see travelers over the age of 65 make is not working with a travel insurance specialist. One thing to note is that not all policies offer great coverage for senior travelers. That's why it is so important to work with a licensed expert. Once you have your personalized quotes, speak to the experts as they can walk you through each policy and coverage so that you understand exactly what you're buying. And make sure that you have the right policy for your next trip. Another mistake that we see is not purchasing enough coverage for a pre-existing medical condition. Now, the truth is that most travel insurance policies will cover pre-existing medical conditions, as long as you disclose them at the time of purchase. However, some policies may exclude coverage for your specific condition. A team of licensed experts can help you find a policy that will cover your specific needs. One thing that we highly recommend is purchasing additional coverage through a policy rider called a pre-existing medical condition waiver or a future sickness and accident coverage. This helps ensure that you won't have any issues getting paid for covered expenses related to your pre-existing medical condition. Another mistake that we see is forgetting to pack the insurance policy documents. When you pack for your trip, make sure that you pack either a physical copy or a digital copy of your insurance policy documents. And also keep in mind that just because you have a travel insurance policy does not mean you are fully covered. Always read the policy terms and conditions so that you know exactly what is and what isn't covered. Make sure that you follow all of the guidelines and recommendations to ensure that you are covered for your trip. So those are the most common mistakes that we see travelers over the age of 65 make when buying travel insurance. It's important to remember that every traveler is different, and the right policy for one person may not be the right policy for another person. Everyone has different medical conditions, they're traveling to different places, and they have different budgets. That's why it is so important to work with a licensed travel insurance broker. Thanks for watching, and I hope you have safe and healthy travels. See you on the next one.